really not familiar with how much the U.S. government's doing, so I'm not really qualified to talk about that.
Okay, do you know what a Dr. Minefield is?
Yeah, I do know what that is. I know what that is.
Can you go on and tell us?
Well, it's about locating. We know the minefields that exist, locating them, and making sure that they're made safe.
Are there any advantages to minefields?
Advantages to them?
I mean,
there's an advantage to them if you're in a war and you're trying to stop the enemy. There's an advantage, but once a war is over, then it's the responsibility of involved governments to rid the world of them, because you have there's a horror that can occur long after a war is over.
Hey man, I just wanted to ask you, man. I know you endorsed Joe Biden.
Well, yes, I like Joe very much, but I also like Elizabeth Warren, and I like anybody that can beat Trump is the way I look at it.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you if the whole Ukraine situation had any impact.
No, we've known for years the man's a crook and lawless. He's been that way even before he became president. So this is nothing new. We saw it happen in 2016. He's trying to do it again in 2020, and hopefully we'll get rid of him, because if we don't, we're going to have a real problem with holding our democracy together.
Right. So I mean, the whole hunting.
Well, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there, right?
No, never has.
Okay. Right.
Just like there wasn't anything with Hillary's email.
I was going to say, it reminds me of that. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you heard this, but Hunter Biden referred to Donald Trump Jr. as Prince Humperdinck.
I had heard that. I thought it was funny.
It is very. I did like to be like an ode to you. Does he have your seal of approval?
Yeah, it's okay.
Anything that he wants to use against you?
That's okay. All right.
I appreciate the time.
Okay. All right.
Take care, man.
It was supposed to be a cozy Hollywood holiday night. Champagne flowing, laughter echoing, and A-list guests celebrating the season. But according to reports, something dark was unfolding behind the smiles. Just hours after a Christmas party packed with celebrities, a legendary Hollywood family would allegedly be at the center of a nightmare no one saw coming. Witnesses claim a heated argument erupted so loudly it cut through the party chatter, an argument that reportedly left guests stunned and uncomfortable. And by the next morning, the headlines would turn explosive. 2 lives allegedly lost, a son was taken into custody, and a question that refuses to go away. Was this tragedy building in plain sight all along? By all accounts, Conan O'Brien's Christmas party was exactly what you'd expect. Warm lights, industry insiders, and that familiar Hollywood buzz where everyone lets their guard down just a little. But according to multiple reports, the festive mood didn't last for everyone in the room. Sources claim that Rob Reiner arrived with his wife, Michele, and their son, Nick, blending in like any other family enjoying a rare public night out. Then, without warning, the energy shifted. Witnesses say a very loud argument suddenly broke out between Rob and Nick, so loud it stopped conversations nearby. People allegedly turned. Some stared. Others tried to pretend they didn't hear it. But it was impossible to ignore. Family insiders say the argument wasn't just a quick flare-up. It reportedly dragged on, tense and emotional, before Rob and Michele abruptly left the party. What happened next, and whether Nick left with them, remains unclear. And that unanswered detail would soon become one of the most haunting questions of all. Behind the scenes, reports suggest this wasn't a family dealing with a sudden crisis, but one quietly unraveling for months. Sources close to the Reiners claim Michele had been opening up to friends, admitting she and Rob were emotionally exhausted and running out of options when it came to their son. According to those accounts, Nick had been struggling with ongoing mental health challenges, paired with alleged substance abuse issues that only intensified the strain at home. Friends reportedly say Michele felt helpless, torn between protecting her child and fearing what might happen if things continued unchecked. One source claims she confided, "We've tried everything." What made it even harder, insiders say, was the silence. The pressure to keep everything private. To manage the crisis without drawing attention. To hold the family together while it felt like it was slowly coming apart. And by the time that Christmas party arrived, some believe the emotional weight had already reached a breaking point, one that couldn't be hidden any longer. According to reports, the night took a sharp turn the moment Rob and Michele left the party. No farewell, no explanations, just a quiet, sudden exit that stood in stark contrast to the chaos guests say they'd just witnessed. And from that point on, the timeline becomes unsettlingly unclear. It's still unknown whether Nick left with them, followed later, or stayed behind. That gap, those missing hours, has since become the center of intense speculation online. Investigators have not publicly clarified what happened next, only that what unfolded inside the family's home would later shock everyone. Some sources suggest the argument from the party never truly ended. Others claim the silence afterward was even more alarming. No calls, no public sightings. Just a house that, by the next day, would become the focus of a rapidly unfolding investigation. And when authorities allegedly arrived, the story took a turn no one was prepared for. According to unverified reports, what authorities allegedly discovered the next morning stunned even those used to Hollywood's darkest stories. Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele, were reportedly found inside their LA area home, both deceased under circumstances so severe they immediately triggered a major investigation. Details remain limited, and officials have released very little publicly. But early reports describe a scene that was impossible to dismiss as accidental. Within hours, word began spreading, first quietly among insiders, then exploding across social media. Fans were left reeling, struggling to process how a night that began with holiday cheer could end in something so devastating. As news outlets rushed to confirm what they could, one name quickly became the focus of intense attention. Because while 2 lives were allegedly lost, investigators were reportedly already looking toward someone who had been with them just hours earlier. By the following morning, reports claim the investigation took a dramatic turn. Nick Reiner was allegedly taken into custody, sending shockwaves through Hollywood and across social media. Within hours, headlines were everywhere, each more explosive than the last. According to law enforcement sources cited by media outlets, Nick was booked on murder charges and held on a reported $4 million bail. Authorities emphasized the case was still unfolding, but the arrest alone was enough to ignite fierce debate online. Some people expressed disbelief, insisting there had to be more to the story. Others pointed back to the argument at the party, now viewed through a much darker lens. Officials have not confirmed a motive, and no conviction has been made. Still, the image of a son being led away in connection with his own parents' deaths was enough to leave many shaken. And as the internet began dissecting every detail, one question grew louder by the hour. Were there signs everyone missed? As the shock began to settle, a new conversation took over online. And it wasn't about fame or Hollywood anymore. It was about warning signs. Comment sections filled with the same haunting question. Could this have been prevented? Fans and commentators began revisiting the alleged details that surfaced after the arrest. The reported struggles with mental health, the claimed substance abuse issues, the idea that the family had been at their wits' end long before that Christmas party ever happened. Many argued this wasn't a sudden explosion, but a slow-burning crisis that never found the help it needed. Others pushed back, reminding everyone that much of what's circulating remains unverified, and that speculation can easily blur into blame. Still, the debate refused to die down. Because when a tragedy appears to follow months of alleged warning signs, silence suddenly feels louder than words. And as the investigation continues, that question lingers. Uncomfortable, unresolved, and impossible to ignore. At this point, so many pieces of this story remain unclear. Investigators are still working, facts are still emerging, and much of what's being discussed online exists in the space between reports, rumors, and unanswered questions. But what's undeniable is the weight of it all. A family reportedly pushed to the edge, and a night that may have changed everything forever. For fans, it's hard to reconcile the image of a beloved Hollywood figure with the darkness now surrounding his name. For others, this case has reopened painful conversations about mental illness, silence, and what happens when help feels out of reach. And as the legal process moves forward, the world is left watching, waiting to learn what's true, what's been misunderstood, and what may never be fully explained. One thing is certain: this story isn't over. And the answers, when they finally come, may be even more unsettling than the questions we're left with today.